My guest today is Caz Owens, rose farmer, herb farmer, edible flower farmer. You can see Lucy just encased in flowers. We've had a truly delicious conversation about chemical-free edible flowers. And roses. Caz, how can people find you?
Instagram, through Facebook. My details are there. They can contact me, email me, can ring me, and by appointment I do tours of the farm and come and have a look at what I make.
And the name of the business is Organica Flore, and it's gorgeous. And Caz has a claim to fame. What is it? Tell me. I'm so excited.
The red roses are in the red roses from the scene out of the Aquaman movie that was released in January of this year. So I'm very thrilled that they were the actual roses that were eaten, and they were filmed on the Gold Coast.
Yes. So. And what did you do when you saw the film?
I cried. I cried.
I love that.
I cried.
Yeah. This is such a fabulous conversation. I want you to watch right through to the end. I'm Robin Cook. This is Stories from the Red Couch. How many acres of roses do you have, Caz?
My husband thinks about 4.5, but it's flower gardens as well. So it's herbs and flowers and edible flowers and then the roses. Yeah. But about 2,000. I've lost count, and I don't really want to go and count.
No, that's a school holiday job for some child, isn't it? Go and count the roses, dear.
But yeah,
so that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. Every year that I've had the farm, I just order more colours, and I started off with the creamy and all the lovely pinks for the wedding roses, and then as I started to dry them and realise how many beautiful colours are out there, I've just gone on that big adventure now, and every winter I get new roses and new colours, and
that's amazing. Because I would never have thought that the Sunshine Coast would be good rose growing country. But clearly it is. I mean, clearly it is. They're just magnificent.
Yep. It's our subtropical, normally beautiful rainfalls.
Yes.
We're actually situated in Eudlo, so we're in the hinterland, and we're actually we're elevated on a ridge. So I never get hail.
Yes.
Frost.
Yeah.
And yet we still get all our beautiful subtropical Queensland, southeast Queensland weather.
That's magnificent.
And the roses love it. Our winter is an English summer. I always say that.
Okay.
For the roses, people say you don't grow roses in winter, and obviously down south where they're chopping their roses down and getting ready for snow, I've got roses budding up going, woohoo! So whether it's bred into them, I don't know, but the English David Austin roses and the European roses
just love the winter.
Yeah.
What were you doing before you became a rose farmer?
A history of gift shops when I was younger, and a joint gift shop wholesale retail with my sister Ruth, and then decided when my daughter left home I'd go to TAFE and find a new career. I wanted to actually go somewhere and do something I could help people. Yep. So I thought I'd be a physiotherapist, but ended up being a quality assurance manager with a couple of degrees under my belt, and could write funding submissions, and quality assurance was something I loved. And
you must have been massively popular.
For the money wise, for the funding wise,
yes.
And for the programs for disabilities and aged care and mental health. It was really lovely to know that it actually did directly help people.
Yes.
It was fabulous. And
such good work, isn't it, to do that?
Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
10 years. I worked on the Sunshine Coast Hospice project with the Queensland AIDS Council, and then ended up in community services for, it was another organisation for 10 years.
Okay.
And so the career was wonderful, but due to ill health, really, I had to leave, and we just bought the farm and said to my husband, I want to grow
like
roses.
Just want to grow roses. Yeah, that's a terrific thing to say.
Beautiful for your mental health.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a living proof of it.
Yeah.
I absolutely, gardening is just
It
so
is,
good
isn't
for
it?
you. Yeah.
Because that would have been a very high pressure job that you had.
It was very.
Yeah, and in an organisation like that where you just give so much of yourself. Everybody I know who works in that area gives so much of themselves.
Yeah.
And there's never really quite enough support coming into it, is there? Which is why you have to write all those funding applications.
Yeah.
Because there's never quite enough money.
Yep.
It's never quite enough.
Never no, and it's expanding industry because obviously our ageing population and mental health, our young people, and
it's challenging.
Yeah, very much.
I think you probably help people still, though, don't you? I mean, you've helped yourself, obviously, but with your roses, for me, roses are pretty much at the top of my favourite list, I think, and particularly ones that are fragrant. Yours are fragrant and they are chemical-free. Can you tell me about the chemical-free element aspect of this?
When I decided to really go into, it needed to be a business because I just got too big and too busy. And I started to thought, I better become certified organic. But the more that I researched, the organic products didn't necessarily meet what I required. And I realised that it was less and less of those products that I would use on the farm because my husband and I, we decided that we would be chemical free years ago, and because of we have an environment that is, the native environment is amazing. And a wildlife release site for rehabilitated wildlife, so birds, and we've had tawny frogmouths and antechinus and possums released there. So we sort of made that decision to be chemical free, and when I researched the organic, it just didn't meet
your requirements.
My requirements.
Yeah,
so
more stringent.
Yeah. And only a couple of years ago, I think in 2016, I came across Chemical Free Farmers Association, and a lovely chap called Dave at Palmwoods.
Yes. And
he's an auditor, and let's go ahead and go with this. And
that's brilliant.
Was not an issue for me because I knew that I'd never used any harmful chemical. I think I may have probably originally 12 years ago when I first put the roses in, followed all the rules.
Yes.
And then realised that we'd never do that again. So things like lime sulphur and stuff like that you're supposed to use every winter, no. And I've proven that
you don't need
meet the requirements with a lot of old farming methods and natural products. Your good old molasses and dishwater, and your detergents and things like that can get rid of a lot of these things that you can go out and spend a fortune.
Yeah, because people talk about a lot of problems with roses. And any of the flowers growing up here, and you just talked about all of the wildlife that's been released. And I know that we all have problems with the wildlife coming and eating all of our plants. How do you manage that? Don't they just decimate it?
No. I've got a mum bush wallaby that's been living in our area for many years.
Yes.
And she'll have a little nibble on the pink tips, particularly, which is
she's
a bit exciting. But no, for some reason, I think that we've got a good enough habitat around us that
there's plenty of food
for them.
Yeah.
And we've planted out on the property. So with the gardens, there's plenty of native area that we've left untouched, and we've added grevilleas and things like that for birds and nectar eaters, and for just put in trees and things like that for foliages and that. And we've got possums and snakes that live up my husband's shed at certain times of the year, but we don't get distressed over it.
No.
It's not ever been a problem.
I imagine that the bird life would help to keep the insects down.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
Absolutely.
What sort of birds have you got that would do that? Because they do get bugs. What do you have?
We've got all the nectar eaters and the different coloured finches. We've got the kookaburras and all the beautiful birds. I mean, I'd love to have someone from like a university, one of the Central Coast University or someone, come out and have a look, because even our bee population has increased, and I've got frogs that live in the rose bushes.
Oh, how nice.
So I have been known to cut a rose and take it down to the workshop and have a baby frog jump out. Frighten one lady in particular, but generally I know from the rose that I can relocate them back to where they came from.
Yes.
But yeah, so this is the environment. So the birds do
a lot of the work for you.
Can eat, but yeah, the food's there.
Yeah.
And they all work very beautifully and together.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that would mean then that all of your roses and other flowers are safe for us to eat too.
Yep, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And is that what you mostly sell them at? Because we've got some ones down in the front, and I don't know. Shall I lean forward? This one here. These are dried citrus, and they are encrusted with what?
Castor sugar, and I also do a coconut sugar for vegans. And I infuse the sugar for months with the rose petals. So it's just put away and shaken every time, tipped upside down. The sugar takes on the fragrance, and then it's put onto the citrus, and then they're dehydrated.
Oh.
And the actual, if you look at the underneath, the colour, the rose oils, the oil from the roses actually seeps into the citrus. And then I give them before they're dried, they also get a spray of rose water, and they're just beautiful.
I think I could just pop one of those in my champagne, couldn't I? Or tea?
Champagne or a cup of tea, and you can eat them just as a crispy little snack as well. But yeah, they're just beautiful. And I love playing with. I suppose it doesn't sound like you're a foodie when you're a rose farmer and but the edible flowers come into that. But I do rose petal jam, and I've got a fabulous brother that's like a mad scientist, and he does rose water.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very special, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So how do you do rose water? Are there trade secrets, or can you just...
No,
distilled?
It's distilled. So I own still, which is hilarious. Rose essence, so we've done a lot of those, and we've done a syrup at the moment, which you can put into your tea or coffee as a sugar substitute.
Oh, how beautiful.
But it's also beautiful as cordial and in mineral waters, and I just and dry the rose. I just dry the rose petals or dry the edible flowers, and they can go scattered on salads and these beautiful cake, these lovely cake designers.
I've seen. So you've got this fabulous Instagram account and your Facebook, and it's littered with magnificent photos of those beautiful flowers.
Yeah, there's beautiful young women out there that
there's
are
a lot
so
of beautiful
creative.
Young women.
They're so creative, and they come and just have a look at what I'm doing, and they're starting to realise that rather than me post it out to them or something, they want to come and have a look in these containers and see what I've been doing, because all these different batches of the reds or the pinks or the mixed colours, and particular roses have different colours and fragrances, and they just and I do coming in Chinese lanterns, so they're absolutely amazing. So when they're in abundance, I've got little trees everywhere of those. They're the hibiscus.
Yes.
And they're very popular. So within what I do, they go on so many different culinary things, and
Are you the only edible, like chemical-free edible flower commercial grower on the coast?
I'm the only chemical-free certified rose, herb and edible flower farm in Australia.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
In Australia. I asked the auditor, I asked Dave, and he said yes, as far as he was aware. And I've Googled it, and I come up, but no one else. I think the traditional rosarians would find it quite interesting what I do, but at this stage I'm the only one that does it. But I have been asked to speak at the New South Wales Rose Society's national conference next year, 2020.
How nice.
So,
what are you going to talk about?
from an environmental perspective.
Wonderful.
So using less chemicals and how the environment is changing and impacting on our rose gardens and on our gardens in
That's
general.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Because I imagine that you really put a lot of effort into your soils. What sort of things do you do to the soil?
The soils are pretty much, I use a lot of manures, so they're composted. When we're doing any plantings, we've got a lot of swaling because of the environment, the location we are on a ridge. So we've swaled. So with that swaling, we do a lot of manure and composting and sugarcane mulch, and there's pea mulch, and then you just let the beds sit and rest, and then when you finally go into them, they're all full of worms, and they stay like that. Once you've got them there, molasses is another thing to give your soil a lovely dose of molasses and water, and it kills any bad the nematodes and gives it a little lift, like I suppose like a glass of lemonade. It just
like
gives
we
you a
all
little
need.
lift. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, any sick plant is just, to me, is have a look at the soil.
Yes.
So if it's growing if the soil's not good, your plants aren't going to be fabulous. So
That's right.
so that's really,
That's
you can grow in pots, but it's not a problem as long as your soil's good. So.
And are you hand harvesting everything?
I've got a couple of ladies that help me harvest edible flowers twice a week, and I do the rest of the farming and everything myself.
Oh, that's
Getting a little bit. It's been good. I've done it really well, but I'm finding as I'm getting older now, it's
hard work.
It's hard work, but it's beautiful. It's
Well,
lovely.
it must be. I'm just imagining what your workshop would be like, and I think I'd like to come, because if you're just working with these things all the time, and here's some more that are really very beautiful. So these are some of the dried flowers, and you were saying
They're
about
pure. That's an example of that. Would be one of those roses there.
Yeah.
When it dehydrates, it ends up that size. And people say to me, "Oh, you must only dry them, your leftovers."
Oh,
I go,
no.
"No, there's no such thing as a leftover on a chemical-free rose farm."
No.
But that's how I dehydrate them, and then these beautiful girls, they go on wedding cakes, and they go on cakes, and you can eat them. You won't eat obviously the centre, but they're beautiful decorations. They're chemical free, so because any other flower that you buy, a commercially grown one, will be covered in chemicals. And sadly, they look magnificent, and these have still got that fragrance, even though they're dry.
They've
it's
got
amazing.
a beautiful fragrance.
I even get surprised. Yeah.
So have you got a great big industrial kind of dryer, or are you using
No, I'm
the
still
little...
using. I've got multiple small.
Okay.
And it's just a process that I've practiced and perfected. I used to teach the traditional stillroom method of potpourri and other fragrant delights.
Yes.
About 30 odd years ago, and I've found it's really interesting that I've sort of nearly gone full circle, and I'm considering going back into teaching the same thing again.
Well, I do a lot of, particularly at this time of the year, I'll rummage around the garden and on my walks, and I'll pick great big sprays of bougainvillea and jasmine and roses and all those sorts of things, and I just kind of bung them on my front bench. The sun comes in and they dry, and then I break them all up and I've got bowls all around the house, and that's pretty much all I do. Is that kind of it? Am I doing the right thing?
You are. Look, going back, oh goodness, one of the fixatives used to be brandy. So you put orris root powder and brandy. So
yes,
you've got different gum benzoin is a natural thing. Orris root powder is natural. I won't say brandy is, but brandy is fixative, so you can have
a nip and
a nip
yes.
and into that. So they're for moist potpourris.
Okay.
But but if you've got fragrant flowers, they'll hold the fragrance.
Yes.
And you can mix your oils in if you want to, just to bring it back.
Well, I haven't done that because I find that you give them a little massage and up it comes again.
They look beautiful and they smell lovely.
Yeah.
And it's natural. I think this is it. We've lost our way a lot with what we bring into our homes. And I think
they do talk about inside your home being more toxic than outside of your home. That's a bit frightening, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I look at all these plug-in fragrant things and just think, no, you need to.
Yes, get rid of them.
And people wonder why they're more. I've had people say to me, I'm allergic to flower, I'm allergic to roses. And I said, no, you're probably just allergic to the chemicals on them.
Yes, probably.
And that's, sadly, that's where a lot of my experience when I was doing, working with a lot of florists a few years ago, and a couple of them used to comment that after Mother's Day, where they'd done a lot of work, they would come up in rashes on their arms from the chemicals of these commercial roses and the flowers. And I found that really quite alarming because I thought, if you're doing this all the time, what are the consequences later on? And
that's right.
And sadly, we're learning of a lot of things that are being used in our work environments over the years end up being very toxic and quite harmful to you. Yeah.
So do you sell directly from the farm, or do you have an outlet? Because you've got this beautiful little glass jar here, Organica Flora, and that's sealed. I'm going to open it up. But it's sealed, so all the fragrance is locked away.
You can open it up.
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's spectacular. So where can we find all of these things? Straight from you, or
straight from me? But I work by appointment because I'm the farmer. I'm not a florist, but I'm the farmer.
You're the everything.
Farmer flower person, and I do some deliveries around the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah. But people are coming to you.
Yeah, they love to come out. Yeah. One of the things is that I'm happy to. I've got a lovely little golf buggy my hubby bought years ago. He said, right, we need this, so it's geared up. So people quite often, because the rose farm isn't at my workshop, they see the edible flower garden and my herbs, because I've got a thing about chocolate mint and all these lovely mints and basil and rosemary and things like that I grow, sages and things. So I grow those for the bees and for the flowers. But the rose farm, so we hop on the buggy. Would you like to go and see the rose farm? And off we go. So we hop on the buggy and off we go up the hill, and there's the rose farm, all the gardens, and they're gardens. They're not little rows of happy little warriors all doing their thing.
Oh, nice.
I've done it in a garden environment, so you can
it's
walk
like a family, isn't it? Yes, families.
It's just a pleasure. You know, it's got to be pleasurable. I've got lavender, and I do a lot of lavender and sages and salvias and nasturtiums and cosmos, and it all self-seeds and comes back every year. And
it must be an incredible
it's just beautiful. It's not as glamorous, I suppose, as a lot of beautiful open gardens that have been very long established.
Yeah.
But,
and manicured, but it's a working environment, isn't it? I think that's the difference, really.
And
it's a workplace.
Our bees are, and the priority for us is, yes, the gardens, but it's the bees, and it's just a beautiful. It's just a beautiful environment to work in and just be in, and people love it. So yeah, I do little tours.
Yes.
And then I post out as well.
Yes.
But people manage to find me and just ring, and I just make an appointment when I'm not busy, and they come out and have a look. And
So, Caz, how can people find you? Where can they find you?
On Instagram, Facebook, can call me direct, and all my details are on both of those.
Yes.
And I love to share my passion and gardening tips and what I do. And
Fabulous. And it is Organica Flora.
Organica Florae. Florae came from my admiration for a young woman in America that was started off with an acre of land, and she is Florae Flower Farm. And Erin became my role model and mentor in a lot of ways, and so Florae came from that, and Organica was the word that I chose.
Yeah.
That just, I suppose, at the time that I chose the name was what suited me best, and so it's been with me ever since.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute delight and wonderful, and John sprinkled Lucy with flowers, and doesn't she look gorgeous?
And I do have to mention the red roses.
Yes.
Are the Aquaman red roses that were in the movie.
Oh, these are in the...
They've been in the $1 billion Aquaman movie that was released in January this year.
Your flowers.
So they were eaten by Jason Momoa and Amber Heard.
Oh, how nice.
So it's a bit cool.
That's totally cool.
Yeah, I've got a granddaughter.
How did they find you?
They were looking for edible roses.
Wow.
And I got the phone call, and 3 trips of 3 lots of roses going to the Gold Coast where it was filmed. And I was told under sufferance, she finally said to me, yes, it's the Aquaman movie. And she said, you can't tell anyone until it's out, and we don't know if the roses will be in the movie until the premiere. So when I finally got to see the movie...
there's your roses.
There's my roses, and of course burst into tears.
That's my roses.
They're my roses. And yeah, so, but it's a interesting movie.
I'm going to have to watch it now.
It's got an environmental message to it.
Yes.
Obviously, because of the what the top of what we say the earth dwellers have done to the oceans in rubbish and things like that. So to me that rung beautifully with what I did. So I was really thrilled. And I've even had a message from the director, James Wan.
Oh, how wonderful.
How beautiful my roses were.
That's
which
gorgeous.
made it more real, because I sort of was pinching myself. I did ask the question, are they really my roses? And they were, yes, they definitely are your roses.
That's so cool.
So it was a bit cool. Yeah.
Well done, Caz.
It's a claim to fame.
That is a claim to fame. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a delight.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Enjoy the roses. Contact Caz. Go and have a tour. I'm going to. Have a nice week, and I'll see you soon.
Resin from the roses, so the rose oil. So the beauty of the rose water is still got its rose oil in it. Rose water, so yeah.